evening, sir.
Evening.
With your lordship's permission, shall we commence the rounds? Good afternoon to one and all. I invite you all and welcome you all to the final rounds of the second National Virtual Moot Court competition conducted by Thomas George and Associates. Today we have our judge for the final rounds, who is none other than Justice Abraham Matthews, sir. We welcome you, sir, firstly, and thank you for agreeing to judge these final rounds. Thank you, sir. Before we start the rounds, I would like to give a brief background about sir. Justice Abraham Matthews, sir, is a former Kerala High Court judge. Sir hails from Chembur in Kottayam district and has obtained his law degree from Law College, Thane, affiliated to the University of Bombay. Justice Matthews, sir, joined the judicial service in 1988. Initially, sir joined as a municipal magistrate, but was soon promoted to the post of sub-judge and district judge subsequently. Sir was later appointed as the additional director in the Directorate of Training, renamed as the Kerala Judicial Academy, High Court of Kerala in 2004. Sir served as the director in Kerala Judicial Academy Ernakulam from 2010 to 2012. Sir was also posted as the Registrar Vigilance, High Court of Kerala in 2012. Since there is certain issues with my camera and mic.
I hope my voice is not echoing now. Sorry for the inconvenience. Sir also served as a director in Kerala Judicial Academy, Ernakulam from 2010 to 2012. Sir was later posted as a Registrar Vigilance in the High Court of Kerala in 2012 and then went on to serve as a District and Sessions Judge at Todupura from March to December 2013. Thereafter, Sir was appointed as the Justice of the Honorable High Court of Kerala and was made a permanent judge with effect from 10th March 2016. After a glorious career, Sir retired on 18th of January 2019. With this background, I welcome Sir to these final rounds. I'll be now pinning to screen the participants for convenience. Who are the court masters today, please?
Good afternoon, everyone. Hope all of you are safe and healthy.
I'll just add all on screen and then you can brief the rules before we start the rounds. Kindly hold on. So we have Piali, Amit, and the other two speakers. Piali, has your roommate joined?
Yes, sir, she is joined.
I request all the audience to kindly mute their mics. Without any further delay, we would like to commence the rounds. I yield the floor to the court masters to brief the rules before we commence the session.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hope all of you and your loved ones are safe and healthy. I, Anirudh Grover and Mansi Jain will be the court masters of this courtroom. And we would like to congratulate all the participants who have qualified for this round and would like to wish them all the very best. Now, Mansi would share the rules.
Thanks, Anirudh. So before starting with the moot court competition, there are some rules which needs to be followed by. The rules: first, keep your audios on throughout the competition. Second, each speaker has a time of 15 minutes only. Rebuttal and sub-rebuttal for 2 minutes, that is 1 minute each for question and 1 minute for answer. The first speaker can yield their time to the second speaker after they are done. Extra time may be granted up to the discretion of the judge. Judge on his discretion is free to give the feedback after the speakers are done with their rounds. And last but not the least, participants are requested to maintain the decorum of this. Wishing all the participants with good luck. Now the first team may start with their proceedings.
Good afternoon, sir. This is Team Code Kanika Adke and Piali Thatte, the councils appearing on behalf of the petitioners in the matter of Rainbow Non-Profit Organization versus the State of Replemento. With your permission, Your Lordship, the council would now like to state the facts of the case. Your Lordship, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
May I state the facts of the case, Your Lordship?
Yes.
The facts of the case are very simple. The state of Replemento is a diverse country. It's a socialist, secular, economical, and democratic country consisting of people from across various stratas of life. There are people from various political, economic, and religious backgrounds. In the recent years, the highest court of the country, that is this very honorable court, has decriminalized the act that criminalized natural sexual intercourse as being violative of Article 14, 15, 19, and 21, and upheld the right to privacy to the extent of consensual sexual intercourse between two individuals. But surprisingly, when in the subsequent years a petition was filed for the granting of civil rights, the court dismissed the petition. Subsequently, several petitions were filed in various high courts of the country asking for the granting of civil rights, as well as asking for the interpretation of the word person in the legislations of the Hindu Marriage Act and the Special Marriage Act to be interpreted in a manner to include the LGBTQIA+ community within its ambit. To avoid conflicting decisions by the various high courts, the Honorable Court became seized of the matter by virtue of Article 139A of the Constitution. With your Lordship's permission, the Council would now like to move on with the first two issues. Much obliged. The first issue is whether the Hindu Marriage Act and the Special Marriage Act can be interpreted, especially with reference to the word person, in a manner to include the members of the LGBTQIA+ community. The second issue is whether civil rights can be granted to the members of this community. The Council would like to club both of the issues and answer them jointly.
Okay.
Your Lordship, the state of Replemento is a diverse country where people from different strata of life live. According to the constitution of the country, certain set of rights are guaranteed to all the persons by virtue of part 3 of the constitution. Article 21 of the constitution guarantees the right of life and personal liberty to every person. Article 21 states no person shall be denied the right to his life and personal liberty. The right to marriage, as far as the present petition is concerned, is incorporated within the ambit of Article 21. It is the humble submission of the Council on behalf of the petitioners that the right to the choice of partner has been evolved throughout various judgments of this very honorable court and is now incorporated within the meaning and ambit of Article 21. This court in the matter of Shakti Vahini versus Union of India in 2018 upheld the same and held that the manifestation of this choice of partner is recognized by virtue of Article 19 and 21 of the Constitution. For every individual to realize full capacity of the rights, it's vital that they have their full dignity. They have their individual autonomy, which is given to them by virtue of our constitution. Any derogation or any taking away of this choice directly affects the dignity of the individual. In the present petition, Your Lordship, the LGBTQIA plus community, although have been granted the right and the recognition of this choice by the court, they have not been able to avail this provision because their marriage is currently not recognized by law. Now, coming to the two legislations, that is the Hindu Marriage Act and the Special Marriage Act. Both the acts contain the word person. The General Clauses Act defines the word person as a body of individuals or association or company. In the present matter, the council would like to emphasize on the words body of individuals. The Hindu Marriage Act is applicable to any persons who are Hindus, and there are provisions for marriage or solemnization of marriage for people of persons belonging to the Hindu religion. Similarly, the Special Marriage Act is a special act enacted with the purpose of providing the right of marriage and validating that marriage to any persons residing in the state of Replemento or nationals of Replemento living abroad. In short, the council would like to highlight on the word person. Although admittedly, the preceding sections of both these acts use the words husband, wife, bride, bridegroom, or male or female specifically, what has to be remembered is that these laws have a lot of years ago. They're archaic in nature. The society then was not as progressive as it is today. By upholding the recognition of sexual orientation of the LGBTQIA plus community by this honorable court in Singh Johar versus Union of India, the court has recognized the rights of these individuals. So now when we come to these acts, the council would like to emphasize on the fact that the word so as to make the availability of these rights easy for this community, because although the word husband and wife have been used, these are based on heteronormative cisgender roles, which because initially, like for so many years, we have always thought that these terms only belong to the binary cisgender people. However, now with the development and the progressive attitude of not just the constitution but also this honorable court, the word person can be interpreted liberally, and the terms husband and wife can also be interpreted in a manner so as to assign their roles to these genders, because for the people of the LGBTQI plus community, there are no such roles such as husband, wife, or bride, bridegroom, because to put a label, such a label on them would just take away the very fact that they have the right to choose the gender that they identify with, which is why these roles can easily be in an open manner, and the members of the community can be incorporated into them. In addition to this, the council would also humbly like to submit that as was held in Madan Singh versus Union of India by this honorable court, there is a presumption of constitutionality in favor of laws, in that they are to be interpreted in a manner to assign a wider meaning to them. Therefore, essentially, any law that provides a right to a person has to be interpreted in a manner such that that right becomes available to them. If a right is provided but the availing of it is not provided, then the right itself, the provision in itself becomes redundant, which is the present case. Therefore, it is submitted by this council that all the references to husband, wife, bride, bridegroom, male, female in the respective acts that are being contested in the present matter be interpreted so that the LGBTQIA plus community can easily involve themselves, incorporate themselves, and use these acts in order to get married according to the provisions given in this act. Your Lordship, every individual is entitled to decide how they want to conduct their personal relationship. They are entitled to decide how their private family life should be. They are entitled to decide decisions relating to their children, decisions relating to how they want to live their lives, essentially, as they are not hindering the rights of others. The LGBTQI plus community today, although their sexual orientation has been recognized, they are not being able to actually avail all of these ancillary rights, the ancillary civil rights, because all of them depend on the recognition of their marriage, which is currently not being recognized. Once this marriage, which is based on their sexual orientation, is recognized, automatically the ancillary civil rights, the right of deciding whether or not to procreate, whether or not to adopt, whether or not to uh, uh, distribute their property among themselves as partners, etc., will become available to them. So now coming to the second issue, that is the civil rights, whether or not they can be granted. Your Lordships, it is contested by the respondent state that giving the civil rights to them would be a violation of the articles 14, 15, 19 and 21. However, the council here would like to submit that these rights are already provided to them. The state has already recognized and granted these rights to these individuals because they are persons, and all the provisions in the constitution refer to a person, and LGBTQ community is nothing but a person, Your Lordships. They're humans just like the rest of us. So to separate them, to target communities merely because they have a violation of their Article 14 and 15. Article 15 very expressly includes the word sex, which refers to sexual orientation. Now, to simply not give them these rights, or to say that they cannot get rights because they have a different gender than the normative cisgender, is a violation of all of their fundamental rights, including Article 21 and 19. Article 19 provides them with the right to express their sexual orientation, to express their sexual identity. However, Your Lordships, they can only express that identity if that identity is actually recognized and accepted by the society as well as the state and the courts of this country. Therefore, it is the humble submission of the council that it is essential to provide them with these rights, or rather to recognize these rights because they're already provided with them. Further, Your Lordships, this is being done with regard to the LGBTQI plus community is completely arbitrary, and arbitrariness is the end of it. The citizens in this country, Your Lordship, am I audible?
Yes, yes. You may proceed.
Much obliged.
There will be minimum interference. You can proceed.
Much obliged. Your Lordship, every citizen of this country is entitled to equality, and every citizen of this country is entitled to protection from discrimination. So, Your Lordships, to target this community, to ostracize them, especially after so many years after independence, we have failed to recognize their rights. We have failed to give them their rightful place in our society. So, it is essential for them to recognize us, for us to recognize their rights. And this will only be possible when their sexual identity is completely recognized, it is completely respected and held as equal in the eyes of law. Because Your Lordships, simply because they have a different identity, the council would like to draw similar analogy, Your Lordship. Let's, keeping aside the third gender for just 30 seconds, our society is mainly a patriarchal society. The two binary genders, the male and female, are recognized and completely accepted in this society. However, Your Lordships, the female gender is still oppressed. The female gender still has to struggle to achieve its basic rights. However, simply because the majority is patriarchal, it does not mean that the female gender is not entitled to their rights. The court and the constitution and the state all have upheld the rights of the female gender. There are provisions that make sure that they get their rights, that they can avail their rights. And if those rights are violated, there are provisions for remedies. Similarly, Your Lordships, the third gender is no different. The third gender is exactly like the binary gender. The only requirement for us is to recognize that they are there, that their gender exists, and they're entitled to the same. Your Lordship, if you have any questions, the council would be happy to answer them.
Okay. The word marriage has not been defined. Has not been defined. If it is not defined, how we have to understand that term, meaning of that term?
Your lordships, marriage is in the Hindu religion thought to be a union of two souls. Two souls means any person and every person, your lordship, including the LGBTQIA plus community.
I think the meaning given to this marriage, the word marriage, is slightly different. What I have heard is this: it is a union of two opposite sexes to the exclusion of all others. I don't know whether how it is understood now by the present society. Okay, so in your view, is the marriage a mere relationship between two persons?
Your lordships, marriage is not just a relationship. Marriage is a sacrament. Marriage is a contract, as according to different religions. These the members of the
No, a contract which will mature into a sacrament. For some others, okay, it is a mere contract. But Hindu law, take Hindu law, Christian Hindu law, it starts from a contract, but results in a sacrament. Christians also it is like that. Okay, Muslims it is different. So we cannot say that is a mere contract. So what is the nature of the relationship? Is it a relationship between two individuals?
May I answer, your lordship?
Yes, yes.
Your lordship, marriage is not a mere relationship between two individuals, because as of today, even live-in relationships are recognized, but marriage has a special position, a special concept of authority, especially in our society, your lordships, where marriage is considered to be an integral part for any individual to have a good, successful life. In the view of the society, marriage, your lordships, by not allowing the LGBTQI plus community to get married, we are just simply taking away their right not just to have a partner, your lordship, but for the partner to be recognized as a legally wedded significant partner. We're taking away their right to have children and have those children also recognized by law as the children born out of their wedlock. We are taking away such other similar ancillary rights. So marriage is not just a relationships for the LGBTQI communities. It is a stepping stone towards getting recognition in the society, towards getting the same respect, the same dignity that is right now given to all other members of the society.
Okay, assume that this is when the two acts, that is the Hindu Marriage Act and the Special Marriage Act, when these acts use the term persons, they include anyone, both boys and girls. Either this between two boys or between two girls or something like that. Okay. Suppose a community is not governed by any statute at all. What will you do?
Your lordships, it is the humble submission of the petitioners that the LGBTQI community not just be given a different statute, your lordship. We want them to be included in this very statute that already exists for all the other people.
So what about others who are not governed by it or who do not want to be governed by even by the Special Marriage Act? Take the case of Christians in South Kerala. They are not governed by any act. There is an Indian Christian Marriage Act. Okay. That's not applicable only to the northern Kerala, which was a part of this Madras province earlier, before the state reorganization. In South Kerala, we are not governed by any statutes. Then what will you do? And take the case of these Muslims. What will you do? They want to marry according to the laws of their community. So my question is this: can the meaning of marriage be different for different communities?
Your lordship.
Okay, just this is only a tentative question. You can just answer it or try to answer it. There is nothing wrong in it.
The council will definitely try to answer this question, your lordship.
Yes.
Marriage is indeed a different concept for different personal religions. Like your lordship has pointed out, it is a sacrament for some, it is a contract for some. And like your lordship has pointed out, there are some people who are not governed by a statute, when it comes to marriage. Now, Your Lordship, as you've pointed out, that if we give marriage a similar definition, a uniform definition, it would not necessarily work for all the religions. However, what we can do is give the concept of marriage a sort of uniform interpretation, in the sense that marriage is essentially the meeting of two individuals wherein they can form and establish certain legal relationships between themselves.
Okay, have you heard about common law marriage?
Your Lordship?
Have you heard about the term common law marriage?
No, Your Lordship.
No. Okay. Proceed. I just wanted to know it. That's all.
Therefore, to answer the question asked by Your Lordship, if we were to give marriage a definition like that, then that would also become easier for people who are not governed by any statute, because then even when they get married, so for example, two homosexual people who are not governed by a statute and they want to get married to each other, they can simply perform whatever requirements are there for their community and get married accordingly, and that marriage will be recognized, Your Lordship, because the concept of marriage for the transgender, the LGBTQI plus community, the concept of marriage as a whole will be held legal. It will be held as recognized by law. So even if they get married, there can be no contention about the fact that the marriage is not valid in the eyes of law, or that if they have, for example, if they have children, so the children will be considered legitimate children, whether or not they're biological or adopted, they'll be considered legitimate, and then the ancillary rights, not between themselves, but also in their family unit. So essentially, the family unit of the LGBTQI plus community will be given valid recognition by law and be accepted at an equal status as the family unit of the heterosexual people is recognized and accepted by our society and the courts and the state.
Okay.
If Your Lordship has any other question, the council will be happy to answer.
No, I will be putting questions later.
Okay, Your Lordship.
Okay, because I don't want to disclose everything to you. Yes, I will reserve it now.
Your Lordship, my co-counsel will continue with issue 3 and 4.
Yes.
Your Lordship, am I audible to you?
You are audible, right?
Much obliged, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, I'll be dealing with issue 3 and 4, but for the purpose of argumenting and submitting my submissions, I will be combining both the issues if that is permitted by Your Lordship.
Yes.
Your Lordship, the third and the fourth issue basically deal with the third issue being that whether traditions, rituals, rites, and customs form an exhaustive code, so exhaustive that do they include the members of the LGBTQIA plus community, and the fourth issue being that whether the rituals that are there in respective religions, if those rituals are performed by the LGBTQIA plus community, will that marriage be held valid under those rituals, is what the fourth issue is in the present matter. Your Lordship, I'll be dealing with it in 4 sub-points, and I shall be explaining that in a way that would tie all of them together. Your Lordship, to understand and briefly look at what personal laws mean in our country and why they are considered at a certain stature is because we as a society in Replimento consist of people from different backgrounds, different stratas of society, different orientations, and we have accepted everything. As a matter of fact, the petitioners would like to contend that the differences are in fact the sole reason that unite all of us together, and these differences are the essential reason why all of us tend to respect each other, and in a way that we are considered equal in the eyes of law. As my co-counsel very succulently pointed out, that the certain rights that arise out of marriage being the sole marriage being the only way where these legal civil rights that are ensured to the homosexual or to the members of the LGBTQIA plus community are denied because their marriage is inherently denied by the state at this point of time. When,
Pardon. Marriage is recognized by?
Your Lordship, I could not hear you.
I did not get what you said now.
Okay, Your Lordship, can I
Marriage
explain it
is
again?
recognized by what?
Marriage as recognized by law today is only considered in the cisgender binary and does not go beyond that. To recognize that, marriage is considered as a bundle of rights as it gives rights to a lot of other civil rights that the LGBTQIA plus community have been denied at this point of time. The contention that the petitioners would like to make is that in the Shaira Banu judgment, D.Y. Chandrachud had said that customs or usages that inflict or infringe upon the civil status of individuals would essentially mean that those customs are void in nature. Looking at the custom that we are talking about in the present moot proposition, Your Lordship, it is primarily based on the fact that, for example, let me put it, the custom of Saptapadi or the custom of the Saptapadi under Hindu Marriage Act and Ashirwad in Parsi Marriage Act. Saptapadi, which is considered as an essential requirement for a marriage to be valid under Hindu Marriage Act, clearly demarcates that that marriage will be valid only when that marriage is between a man and a woman, and not when it is between any other combination of genders. The same goes for Ashirwad as well in Parsi Marriage Act. When we look at it a little closer, oh, Your Lordship, may I proceed?
Proceed.
Your Lordship, the argument that the petitioners here are trying to make is that these rights that we are talking about, or this exhaustive code that is supposed to be so exhaustive that it includes everything in its ambit, is inherently not exhaustive because it does not include and completely demarcates the LGBTQIA plus community as something that is absolutely alien. As a matter of fact, Your Lordship, the respondents in the written submissions have claimed that homosexuality is unnatural, whereas this honorable court is the same court that has upheld homosexuality and upheld the identity and orientation of the LGBTQIA plus community, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, also that there is this very thin line, or there is a connecting factor that the petitioners would like to establish through this argument, being that when we talk about the right to life under Article 21, the right to life is not just one right that gives you, or is not just something that will make your life easier, but it also encompasses a lot of other aspects that you would enjoy in your life, or the petitioner or any other citizen would enjoy in their life, that would make their life beneficial. Having said that, Your Lordship, Article 21, when we talk about Article 21, we realize that Article 21 specifically deals with a concept that says that a person should be allowed to enjoy his or her life or their life in a way that they can experience culture, heritage, and exposure to a lot of other things. And having said that, also additionally, go on to experience other familial relationships, whether it be by way of marriage or having a child or any other relations that arise out of marriage. The culture and heritage or ethos that the respondents claim is against the state or against the policies of the state is essentially because they regard these culture and ethos to be the only culture and ethos of the country. When this honorable court has been the court that has recognized the rights of homosexuals and has given them the fundamental rights, it is the duty of not just the state, but it is the duty of the state to realize that the right to life is paramount, and the right to life is associational in such an aspect that if these customs are prohibiting or violating any other fundamental rights of the petitioner or of the members of the LGBTQIA community, then those customs will be held invalid or void in the eyes of law. Your Lordship, if you may permit, can I move on to the next issue, or otherwise the council will be happy to answer.
You complete your argument, then I will put my questions.
Much obliged, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, another argument that comes before this court is such that religion, when we look at it, especially in a pluralistic society like that of Replimento, specifically deals with the various interpretations of marriage, the various interpretations of marriage in relationship, the various interpretations of duties that arise out of marriage in different relationships, And having said that, that the religion is inherently the seed that in a way takes this entire family forward, or takes that union forward, if I may say. Uh, Having said that, Your Lordship, when this court has considered that the right to equality in the eyes of law, or the right to life, if I were to connect the two, Article 14 and Article 21, when we talk about that, especially in the Masilamani Mudliar case, which particularly states that if there is any discrimination, that case particularly talked about discrimination against women, but the council here is trying to make a point as to how that discrimination on the grounds that were the observations made by the honorable court in the same case were such that they are applicable in the present case as well. Your Lordship, the Mudliar case particularly said that the discrimination that we are talking about here is unjust on the grounds that it is infringing upon my life. It's infringing upon the petitioner's life, the petitioner's right to life, and the petitioner's right to enjoy anything he or she or they intend to do in their lifetime. The equality that the petitioner is saying has been violated in the present case has been such that the equality has not been granted because they have been treated as a different class in itself, a class that is different from the heterosexual class, a class that is apart from the cisgender binary, and so different that there needs to be a class legislation that governs them, but not a reasonable classification. The reasonable classifications that the respondent make, that there is an intelligible differentia or there is a rational nexus between the acts that have been contested in the current case, are such that the object of the act was never to in fact discriminate. The object of the act was to include, because the term persons in itself is inclusive, Your Lordship. But what the contention of the petitioners here is such that when the state or when the respondents are particularly talking about the right to equality not being violated, it is imperative to understand that I, as a person, if I were to give an example, Your Lordship, I, as a person from the LGBTQIA plus community, I'm not seen equal in the eyes of law, because if I want to get married, I'm not given that right because no law governs it. If I want to have any other rights that arise out of marriage, whether it be inheritance or whether it be having a child, I will not be allowed to become a parent if I'm a member of the LGBTQIA plus community. It's all because the customs of these religions, which are completely against homosexuality, condemn it. Hence, the marriage in itself would be invalid, and hence those will be the grounds. Your Lordship, if this is the contention that the respondents make, that although homosexuality is recognized, the rights that arise after a person or after the right to life has been guaranteed is such that the particular right to life is actually being violated in totality. Justice Indu Malhotra, in one of her judgments, if I'm not wrong, the Shaira Banu judgment, had stated that there is a threefold test that is done to ensure that Article 21 is not violated. In the present case, the threefold test is such, Your Lordship, that there needs to be a law, there needs to be a procedure established by law, and that law needs to be reasonable. Your Lordship, all the three contentions in the present case stand violated because there is a law, there is a procedure established by the law, and the law that governs that procedure is absolutely unreasonable and arbitrary because it does not include the members of the LGBTQIA plus community. Hence, the counsel for the petitioners would like to contend and submit to this honorable court that the exhaustive code that is being talked about in this particular issue before this honorable court be considered as not exhaustive, as it does not include the members of the LGBTQIA plus community, and hence be considered redundant, as these customs are against the fundamental rights that are guaranteed to the citizens of this country. If Your Lordship permits, I shall be moving on and explaining and connecting to the next issue.
Okay, proceed.
Much obliged, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, when we come to explaining that there are certain rituals that are that are inherent or that are of complete importance to a particular person. When the respondents are claiming that I cannot perform, I as a homosexual or I as a member of the LGBTQIA plus community cannot perform a marriage because my ritual states and ritual does not recognize, or my religion does not recognize homosexuality. It is essentially saying that although I have a personal law, I can continue to have a personal law as long as I'm unmarried. But the moment I choose to get married, my personal law will come in my way and say that I cannot get married as a member of the LGBTQI plus community, which is inherently violative, Your Lordship. And this.
So, do you say that these statutes governing the field, they are not valid, constitutionally valid? Hindu Marriage Act and Special Marriage Act. Do you attack the constitutional validity of the statutes, or do you want to say that the marriage as used in these particular statutes takes in your cases also?
Yes, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, the counsel for the petitioner would like to answer this succulently by saying that the provisions which specifically deal with the gender binary in these specific legislations, the Hindu Marriage Act and the Special Marriage Act, are inherently invalid and violate the fundamental rights of the petitioners.
That means you are attacking the validity of the act.
Yes, Your Lordship.
You say that it is discriminatory.
Yes, Your Lordship, it is discriminatory.
Is that your case?
Your Lordship, I cannot hear you. I'm sorry.
Is your case that these two acts, they have shown discrimination to you? Or do you want to say that the term person used in these two persons, two Hindus, to any two persons, they are the expressions used in these two statutes. They are taking these particular persons also. What is your case? So when you are counter, you are the other counsel argued her case. I thought that her case is that you are also governed by the act.
Yes, Your Lordship. We, as the members of the LGBTQIA plus community, having and following our respective personal laws, contend that the definition of person as given under the Hindu Marriage Act as well as the Special Marriage Act.
Then how can you say that there is discrimination? If you are governed by it, how can there be discrimination? There is no question of discrimination. You say that you are also governed by the act. Otherwise, it is a contradictory. When you say that you are also, your case is also covered by these two acts, there is no question of any discrimination. So you cannot argue that you are governed by it and at the same time that it is discriminatory because you are a student.
Your Lordship, the petitioner's contention in the present case is such that the term persons as given under the Hindu Marriage Act and Special Marriage Act are wide enough to include the members of the LGBTQI community.
Okay. Then what is the basis for your submission that there is discrimination?
Having said that, Your Lordship, the petitioners here are contending that when it comes to specific customs and the exhaustive code that is being talked about in the present case, that in itself is inherently discriminatory because Article 21, it's affecting the petitioner's right to enjoy their life with dignity and to conduct their life in a manner where they can continue to have a marriage. They can have the choice to get married. Firstly, they should have the choice to get married. Secondly, the ability to get married. And thirdly, to recognize their marriage valid in the eyes of law in the present legislations, Your Lordship.
Okay. What is the nature of a marriage? What is the nature of the relationship? Does it affect only these two individuals? When two persons get married, who are the persons affected by the relationship or who are interested in the relationship?
Your Lordship, if I may answer that question, Your Lordship, the marriage or a relationship is only between two individuals, essentially. in the Republic of Replemento, marriage is also considered very widely as the union of two families. If I was to consider that argument to be valid,
so actually, it is a social institution. Marriage is a social institution, right? So the question is whether your parents would like you to have such a marriage. Indian society. So when you interpret a term, especially a term which has some meaning under this constitution, what we should bear in mind?
Your Lordship,
Use
if
the word culture. So it has to be interpreted in the background of Indian culture, the culture of the present society. It may change. Okay, it may change.
Your Lordship, the Constitution as a living document is inherently a transformative document that ceases to see the change of society over time. Having said that, Your Lordship, the Constitution in itself guarantees that there is going to be change. The society is going to progress. The society is going to see certain change and accept certain beliefs that it did not probably accept at a certain point of time in the past.
So when a particular term is defined in an act, how will you interpret it? How will you gather its meaning?
Okay. Your Lordship, if I may answer that question, the time is such that there is, let me put it this way, that homosexuality, which was criminalized for so long in our country, was decriminalized by other countries in the world. Homosexuality was not recognized as a crime in the past, but it had been recognized as a crime in the Republic of Replemento for the longest time. The court realized the importance of changing that because the society around in the Republic of Replemento was such that homosexuality was not a crime, but the mere right to life.
So the Supreme Court has only said that it's not a crime. It's not a crime. The Supreme Court has only decriminalized it and nothing more. So if you want to have such a marriage, from what your right flows, where will you get that right?
Your Lordship, the right that will arise after I've been recognized as a homosexual in the territory of Replemento will be such that it is my fundamental. The right to marriage is a fundamental. Let me put it this way: the right to marriage is a fundamental right. It's the same way that it is to choose the right to choose my partner. So if I can choose my partner, and it is my right to life, it is essential that if I want to enjoy my life and continue to live my life the way I want to, I can be governed and can be given the legal recognition of marriage under these laws, Your Lordship.
Okay, how you heard about the term common law marriage? Common law marriage.
Your Lordship, if I may ask you a question, does this mean the civil unions that the Lordship is talking about, wherein the marriage will be considered as a civil union between the individuals where certain rights...
I only asked you, how you heard about this term, common law marriage? Forget the statutes.
Yes, Your Lordship. The term common, the petitioners are not aware about the term common law marriage.
Okay, I just wanted to know it, there's nothing else. I just wanted to know it because there have been attempts on the part of various courts in India to discuss the meaning of the term marriage. Recently also the Supreme Court has done it. That's why I asked you whether you know the meaning of, whether you know about the term, meaning of the term common law marriage. Yes. Okay. You may proceed.
Yes, Your Lordship. The contention of the petitioners is such that once the term persons has been liberally interpreted by the courts and the civil rights have been granted, the person of the members of the LGBTQI plus community can very well get married under the framework of the rituals given under the religion of that person, and hence that marriage will be considered valid on the same grounds. If Your Lordship's permit, the council would like to move on with the prayer.
Okay. when the marriage in a particular community is not governed by any statutes, what will be the law applicable to them? Because there are some communities which are not governed by any statute so far as the marriage is concerned. Take this Muslims, take this Christians of South Kerala. Otherwise, there is an Indian Christian Marriage Act. Some aspects are there. They are not governed by any other acts. Just like Hindu Marriage Act, there is no such act. Then what will you do?
Your Lordship, if I could just take a moment to think, if that's okay with you.
Okay, you may just think about it. Or just consider a simple principle. When a particular relationship is not governed by a statute, then what is the next step to be looked into?
Yes, Your Lordship. If a
When these
particular
civil rights are concerned.
Yes, Your Lordship. If a particular relationship is not recognized in the eyes of law, but that relationship is valid and has continued for a certain period of time, then that relationship.
So you want to say that even though it is not recognized by the society, you have that right to have that relationship because the statutes govern the field, allow you to do it.
Your Lordship, pertaining to the LGBTQIA plus community, the petitioners say that and contend that their right to marry in itself has been denied. Hence, their relationship will be considered invalid in law, as has been contended by the respondents.
Okay.
But what the petitioners point here is such that there needs to be a legal right which is governed under their respective personal laws, because as Justice Krishna here says, that a person carries his personal law wherever he goes. So I cannot dissociate myself from my personal law just because I am a person from the LGBTQIA plus community. So if I want to get married under my personal law, I should have that right given to me constitutionally by just interpreting the said terms a little bit more widely.
So you can decide your own requirements for a valid marriage.
Your Lordship,
So when the statute is not governed, the statute does not govern it, does not prescribe the requirements. Okay, the personal law, it will step in. If the personal law does not permit it, what will you do? You have to prescribe the valid requirements of a valid marriage for in your case.
Your Lordship, the petitioners are contending that as the society has changed and as Your Lordship, can you hear me?
Yes.
Your Lordship, the petitioners here are contending that marriage under personal laws for the LGBTQIA plus community are to be treated valid in that framework itself by just merely interpreting it a little bit more widely.
Okay,
So,
okay. Proceed.
Okay. Your Lordship, also additionally that when we look at religion specifically in a pluralistic society like ours, it's imperative to understand that the balance or the delicate balance that has been created to respect all religions equally in the eyes of law should be treated in such a way that the entire inclusivity factor that is there of including everyone in its ambit should be so much that there is no class legislation that takes place, and the reason that is taking place in the case of LGBTQIA plus, and the reasonable classification, the test of reasonableness that the respondents are claiming that the said laws are just, fair and reasonable is absolutely violative, because the said laws are not just, fair and reasonable, and the members of the LGBTQIA plus are unjustly treated, unfairly treated, as well as unreasonably left aside and kept aside. Although their fundamental rights have been guaranteed, their civil rights have not been guaranteed. On the same premise, the petitioners would like to move on to the prayer, Your Lordship.
Okay, proceed.
In the light of the facts stated, issues raised and arguments advanced, on behalf of the Council of the petitioners would request the court to allow this appeal on the following grounds: that the term persons under the Hindu Marriage Act and the Special Marriage Act be interpreted sufficiently so as to include the members of the LGBTQIA plus community. Secondly, that the civil rights be granted to the members of the LGBTQIA plus community. Thirdly, that the code not being exhaustive and the customs be considered void, which are against the fundamental rights of these individuals. And fourthly, that the members of the LGBTQI plus community be allowed to be married as per the rituals of their respective religions. Your Lordship, the counsel for the petitioner would appreciate if if there is any order or judgment that is passed in our favor. Thank you, Your Lordship. Much obliged.
Yes.
Calling speaker one.
Your Lordship.
Yes.
Your Lordship, I am the counsel for the respondent, Republic of Riplamento, and I would like to move the reply for the petition submitted by Rainbow Non-Profit Organization,
Yes.
and also would like to seek the permission of the Honorable Court with proceeding with the facts of the case.
Yes.
Much obliged, Your Honor. Your Lordship.
Fact they have already narrated, but you can be very brief. You can be
Uh,
very brief as they have already narrated the facts.
Much obliged, Your Lordship. The facts of the case states that the Republic of Riplamento is a democratic country with different sectors of people currently facing the issue of the acceptance and non-acceptance of the LGBT community with the other heterosexual people, which are the majority. With respect to the marriage, civil rights, customs rights, rituals, and traditions. And also, there were some laws which criminalize the unnatural sexual intercourse, irrespective of gender, with or without the consent. And the said law was treated inhuman, and which goes against the basic tenets of the human rights, and became the reason of criticism by other countries against the Republic of Riplamento. I would like to proceed to the issue one, my lord.
Yes.
As we know, society is basically a socially recognized union of a man and woman. So, as per the societal norms, the laws are also based and evolved with respect to the same thing. So, from the sages, we know that society means it is a man and a woman. So, when someone tells us a family, you will clearly, the first picture which comes to your mind is a man and a woman. So there is no other images which will be coming. Like when it is called as a marriage, suddenly the only image which shoots in your mind is that a husband and a man and a woman will be tying a knot there. That's the first point which comes in there. So also we would like to look into the national acceptability of bringing the LGBTQI community under the Hindu Marriage Act or the Special Marriage Act. Because if you bring in the LGBT community under this act, it is going to cause imbalances in the society among the majority of the people. I don't disrespect the LGBT community, because even they are the human beings. I respect them, but bringing them under this particular norms will create an imbalance, because as we know, as per the Hindu Marriage Act, Saptapadi is a very, very important and a very, very mandatory ceremony to be conducted, which should make the marriage valid. So when the Saptapadi can be executed only when there is a man and a woman. So there is never an image of a man and a man doing a Saptapadi, or a man and a woman and a woman doing a Saptapadi, or a transgender doing a Saptapadi. So these things will not even fit in there. So this is practically impossible, and till now no one has actually imagined about.
Why don't they take those steps, Saptapadi? What is wrong in it? They will do it.
But from the
They will do it.
But it will go against the community. It will go against the complete belief of the system.
If the entire community is against their constitutional rights, should the court recognize it? Merely because the society says that this is the correct one. If the constitution is otherwise.
No. The constitution is the base of the country, and everyone are bound to respect the constitution.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the as I told about the Saptapadi, Saptapadi has
Okay,
linked with the
have you come across any decision which deals with the particular topic for what should be the form of a marriage, irrespective of the caste or irrespective of the religion? Very interesting example has been given in a particular judgment. Very interesting, and it says that to understand a term, it is better that we give an absurd example. That is what it is stated in that English decision of Indian courts. Anyway, you can proceed. You may not very strange decision. Not a strange decision. It is a very absurd example given, but it is very interesting. I shall give you later. Okay, proceed.
Thank you, Your Lordship, for bringing in that point, and we would like to hear it from you at the end of this. And
when you do some research, this is very good for you.
Thank you, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, the parties to the same-sex marriage would not fit the legislative scheme because which clearly talks about a biological woman as as a wife and a biological man as a husband. So, as I earlier mentioned, so we when someone when someone asks a children who are regarding where are their parents, the first image which comes into the children is like, yeah, my dad is a man and my mother is a woman. So there is no other
suppose they
image
don't
which
want
come into the child.
Suppose they don't want offsprings, children.
Yeah,
I don't know whether you
LGBT
have come across. Say, there is a celebrity in India. The astrologer said to him that you will not have any you will not have any offspring, and he was looking for a woman who is in the same situation, and they married. You know who it is?
Your Lordship, no.
It is a T.N. Session, the former Election Commissioner of India. Yes, proceed.
Thank you, Your Lordship.
So, do you want to say that this raising these children, unless that is possible, there cannot be a marriage?
Your Lordship, I would like to say that the LGBT community, they may there is something called as a living together. There will be a love between the two. Like a man between a man and there's a woman between a woman. Those things are not controlled by anyone. It's a natural. It may come into anyone. So we cannot restrict that. So when it comes up, so maybe they can live together. They can share in the love, and they can adopt their children. It is okay. No problem. They can raise them.
This is a love also. This is also love. They have decided to share their bodies for enjoyment.
Yeah, procreation part, let them do. There is no restriction. If there is a consent, there is no restriction. But regarding the terms of a marriage, so which is practically impossible and which should not be considered because the majority portion will be really impacted. And
they say that the term marriage has not been defined either in this Hindu Marriage Act or the Special Marriage Act. And the words used in this section 5 of this Hindu Marriage Act is between any two Hindus, and in the Special Marriage Act between any two persons. So Hindus means it may be both male and it can be both male and female, and persons also in the same situation. So what is wrong with it? They are also governed by it. They are also persons. They are also Hindus.
Your Lordship, in the Hindu Marriage Act, I could not recall it properly, but in the sub-clause, one of the clause it says that a man at the age of 21 and a woman at the age of 18 are set to get married. In that case,
when that term is not defined, how can you gather its meaning?
Your Lordship, you're trying to say that the age number is not defined.
No, the term marriage is not defined either in the Hindu Marriage Act or in this Special Marriage Act. It does not say that it should be a relationship between a man and a woman. It does not say so. It only says that any marriage between two Hindus may be solemnized. And in the Special Marriage Act, marriage between any two persons may be solemnized. That's all what it says.
Your
And
lordship,
it does not say the meaning of the word marriage. So then what you can do when the term is not defined, when the dictionary is not there in the statute book?
your lordship, as per my knowledge, I think that in the Hindu Marriage Act it says, I mean, it clearly defines in the subclause that it is between a man and a woman. I mean,
Okay,
man-
that phrases
and-
are used. But my question is, how can you gather the meaning of the marriage? A term used in the act.
Your lordship,
Right, yeah, you are right. You are right. Proceed. Proceed. You are on the verge of submitting it. Right. Proceed. You may proceed without any hesitation. You proceed.
okay, thank you, your lordship. Yeah, like in the subclause it says that it's between a man and a woman. So when it
Right.
clearly says that it's between a man and a woman, there is the religion is no bar here. The religion is no bar.
That means the meaning has to be gathered from different provisions of the act, though the term is not defined there.
Okay,
Right.
lordship.
Proceed. Proceed.
And also so I'd like to say your lordship that any other interpretation except treating husband as a biological man and wife as a biological woman will make all the legal provisions work, make unworkable. So as we know, like if we make it to gay marriage or a lesbian marriage or a transgender marriage, the legal provision is not going to work here. As example, like as you previously said during the petitioner side, so no one would like to see a gay marriage or a lesbian marriage or transgender marriage. I don't say that they are not restricted to share their love. Let them be. But they need to share their love within the scope of the marriage, and they can also adopt a child. And if they wish to, if they are capable, so that they can really take care of the children's mental health and the children's mental health in the sense like when the child grows up with both women, so they are very much responsible that they need to take care of all the issues which the child will face in the society when he grows up, because there will be a lot of criticism. They may, when the children goes with the two women as saying that father and a mother, obviously the society is the society will be doing a wrong thing. They are touching hurting the human feelings, but those things will going to be coming up, those points will be raised, and those issues will be coming up with the children. So the children, in the adoption point of view also, there is a negativity. The children will have to face lot of issues there. So even that is also not not recommended. I don't say that they should not do, but there is not recommended in that part also. So your lordship, and also I would like to add one more point.
Yes.
The include of the LGBT community will invoke a strong opposition from the religious aspect, as in the Hindu Marriage Act, related to the social and also the spiritual purpose, and also the spiritual purpose of dharma, procreation, and sexual pleasure. As we already I discussed, we had a small discussion.
Should we consider the objection of a community when we consider the meaning of a term in law or the legal rights of a person? What this community would think, whether they accept it or not?
Your lordship, I would say the things of the community should be taken into consideration, and it is up to the supreme to it is up to the Supreme Court to decide, and to first to check the imbalances, because if we don't recognize
what is the role of society? What is the role of society in it?
The society,
right.
all the community, at the end we all live as a society. And
forget whether it is Hindu religion, Islam, or Christian. What is the role of society in this marriage?
The religion part, yes. When it comes to the society, religion will never play a role as per me, because the first point what I say is humanity is above everything, and when it comes to humanity, it is a society. It includes all Hindu, Muslim, Christian as equal. So society, because when there is a LGBTQ community marriage, so it becomes very difficult for the society. When two men getting tying the knot and exchanging the haras, and walking around, it creates a negative image in the children or in the other people. Like what exactly is
So why
happening?
should the society take interest in the relationship between two individuals?
No, but see, I mean, Your Lordship, we all live together, and when something negativity is happening, and which is going to cause which is going to create a negative image over the whole society, so it is
Yes.
the responsibility of the society to recognize it and raise a point on it.
Okay, proceed.
Your Lordship, I would like to move into the issue 2 regarding the civil rights.
Okay.
Your Lordship, when the civil rights, for example, the religious rights given to the community, it also disturbs the rights of the other and the core societal values. And also, we know our laws are based on the traditional beliefs, and it should continue to do that. And our religion, I mean, our religion forbids homosexuality, bisexuality, and transgenderism. And as we know, all those things, our law reflects the same. Therefore, once the rights are given to the LGBTQ community, the appearance, the culture, which is not in line with the larger community of the people in society, which in turn affects the community as a whole when we give the rights. So I would like to say a point here that the LGBT community should be given the right to vote, right of speedy trial, fair investigation, and also right to work in the government organization. Those are some rights which is very much required for their survival, because so the survival part we have to take care. The basic as a fundamental, as they being the citizen of the nation, the fundamental right has to be guaranteed, and some of the rights, yes, it has to be taken care. But the only concern regarding the marriage is a big problem, because on that part it should be worked here. Your Lordship, I would like to quote international cases. The first case is in reference to the marriage case. It's a California Supreme Court case. The facts of the case, I would like to say, it is regarding a same-sex couple marriage rights. Here, the California Supreme Court ruled in favor of a same-sex couple marriage rights, but the window for the legal marriage was brief, as the voters later that year approved the Proposition 8, which amended the state constitution to bar the same-sex couple from marrying. And finally, the California Constitution to add a new section 7.5 to the Article 1, which reads like that: only a marriage between a man and a woman is valid and recognized in the California. It clearly says that the man and a woman is what is recognized. So we can, I mean, these are the cases which is a reflection we can refer. I mean, which should help here. And also, Your Lordship, I would like one more case, which is Baker versus Nelson, which is a Minnesota Supreme Court case. Here, once again, the facts of the case is that it is a case related to not letting two men getting married, which violated the Constitution. The Jack Baker and Michael Connell asked the United States Supreme Court to declare that the Minnesota failure to let two men marry violated the Constitution. The court, in this case, the court did not even hear the argument, declaring the statement that the issue did not raise a substantial federal question. So the court clearly told the people, the petitioner, that what the two men getting married is not even a marriage. So when it is not even marriage and when it is not even recognized by the law, why are you filing a suit? And it clearly dismissed the petition there. And Your Lordship, the final case I would like to quote is Jones versus Hallan. It is a Kentucky Court of Appeals. Here the facts of the case states that it is regarding a two women they got married and sued for getting a marriage license. So when Marjorie Jones and Tracy Knight sued to get a marriage license, the court denied the two women request, declaring that what they propose is no marriage. It's not even a marriage. The two women getting married and asking for a license, it is not going to accept it, because the marriage is, there is no marriage in the eye of the law, and the court has dismissed the petition. Your Lordship, I'm done with the issues 1 and 2, and if you're okay, then
have you heard about the term common law marriage?
Your Lordship, no, Your Lordship.
Okay. I just wanted to know it, that's all.
Okay, Your Lordship, my co-counsel will take it from here.
Okay. You have completed your arguments.
Yes, Your Lordship.
Okay.
Your Lordship, I am the co-counsel for the respondent, the Republic of Manitoba, and would like to seek the permission of the Honorable Court on proceeding with the case.
Yes. Proceed.
Much obliged, Lordship. So, explaining the issue number 3 as well as issue number 4. So, which states that whether or not the customs or the traditions whether it is rites, rituals formed on an exhaustive code as contested by the Republic of Replemento. And the other issue is whether or not the members from the said community can be allowed to be married as per the rituals for their respective religion. So here, the term custom as defined in the section 3 of the Hindu Marriage Act 1955, it defines as a rule that has been followed for a long time and has also obtained the force of law among the people of the Hindu community. So custom as an international significance and are reasonable in the eyes of law. So the customs should not be against the public morality. So there are few essentials of a custom where I would like to quote. So it should be ancient or invariable, continuous, and the main important thing for a valid custom and also to be included in the laws. So it should not oppose the public policy or the morality, and it also should not be in derogation of the laws of the country. So the right to equality in the law should hold true and it should not be discriminatory. So marriage is defined as a union. There it brings together men and women for the natural reproduction, so of the human race, which is not possible in case of the LGBTQIA community.
Okay, that's why I asked you. The other man, I asked you. Suppose the doctor says that these two persons, before their marriage, it is revealed that a man and a woman, they cannot have children. The woman cannot bear children also. So can they not get married?
Your Lordship, they can get married, but
Then,
that is,
because if that is the object, procreation of children alone is the object of the marriage, then the object is certainly they know that it is can never be achieved.
Your Lordship, the council would like to clarify this. See, with respect to a men and a women, the possibility of this is very limited. But when it comes to the LGBTQIA community, it is for sure like a gay and a gay, that is a man and a man and or a woman or any other unnatural combinations of these is not possible. So here we have 100% sure that the natural reproduction is not possible. There might be a surrogacy or adoption, but a natural reproduction perspective is not possible.
Will surrogacy help them?
Your Lordship, surrogacy in case of women, I mean, in the sense,
Right. Lesbian. Yes. Yes.
So with your permission, can I
Proceed.
Much obliged, Your Lordship. So here with the child perspective, so child needs both mother and a father for the balanced and the normal childhood. So having two parents of the same sex, it might affect the child's mental balance, the mental stability, and also it is not best suited for the child's involvement in the growth perspective. Your Lordship, the council would like to quote an example. If a boy grows up with two women, with the other one, with either of the one playing a father and a mother role, so or both playing the role of the mothers, the image of the other person will be lacking, and the couple cannot answer the typical kind of questions. What, like for example, the physical changes that a boy child might be facing, or any other such sort of questions cannot be answered. And the same holds good for the case of a girl child raised by a.
That what you want to say is that the psychological impact that may be made on the children.
Yes, Your Lordship. So the psychological or the mental balance will have an impact on the child.
Proceed.
So under Article 44, like it speaks about the Uniform Civil Code. So here it states that the state shall endeavor to provide for its citizens a uniform civil code throughout the territory of the India. So here, if that is the case, they can have a separate personal code. So laws are made based on the culture, traditions, ethics, or practices, and it is not vice versa. So to keep up the diversity and culture intact, which becomes the founding principle of the country, like a Republic of Replemento.
So then I would like to ask one question.
Yes, Your Lordship.
The culture of the Indian society actually does not, or it frowns upon this homosexuality. Still, the Supreme Court has decriminalized it. So what do you say?
Your Lordship,
Should we look into the Indian culture then?
section IPC 377, it has decriminalized only a part, that is
Right.
not the complete
Right.
377.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Your Lordship. Yeah, much obliged, Your Lordship. So here I would like to quote a case that is where the violation of rights is unsubstantiated. So that is the National Authority Legal Services versus Union of India. So here in this case, they have not violated the fundamental rights. They have upheld the transgender as per the petitioner's arguments, like they have not violated the fundamental rights. So the personal liberty of a person from the LGBTQIA community is not curtailed, as the personal laws of different faiths, they do not accept homosexuality, and claiming such violation with respect to fundamental right cannot be given legal recognition. And this there is no unconstitutional discrimination in this sense. It also
Why is the society interested in the marriage of two individuals, relationship of two individuals?
Your Lordship, marriage is not only between two individuals, it has to concentrate on the society as well.
So it is a social institution. That is what you want to say.
Yes, Your Lordship.
Right. You are right. Proceed.
Much obliged, Your Lordship. So homosexuality is not a normal concept, and it is not usually accepted in terms of customs and traditions. So their presence will obviously cause social and cultural differences, leading to unnatural practices. And that is the reason Article 3, sorry, I apologize for that. Section 377 has not completely been removed or stuck down. It is only a part of it has been upheld.
Right. Partly.
Yes, that is to see that only the consensual sexual acts has been permitted, and even now unconsensual sexual acts has been criminalized. So as per the legislatures and judiciaries across the globe, they have laws criminalizing homosexuality and transgender behavior, which is again against the public decency and morality. So now moving on to the term family, it is usually made up of a man and a woman, not a woman and a woman, or a man and a man, or any other unnatural combination. So even when we are coming to the concept of customs under the marriage ceremonies, so there is a saying that is dharmecha, arthecha, kamecha, mokshecha, nati charami, where it is promised by a man to a woman that he will be taking care of all these terms throughout the life. So here it is not with the LGBTQIA community perspective. So the custom has been designed in such a way, it is for the heterosexual group. It is therefore unethical and completely against the culture of the nation, and it cannot be tampering any customs or practices or any rites, rituals, and traditions that will affect the society as a whole, and hence not make it legalized. Your Lordship, with your permission, if you have any questions, the council would be happy to answer.
Yes, under this Hindu mythology or this Indian conception, what is the nature of a man and a woman in marriage?
Your Lordship, both has their rights and obligations to perform.
There is something which is just like this Greek mythology also. They become
together.
No, complete. They are incomplete till their marriage. Ardhanarishit. Indian concept and this Greek concept, both are the same. They are incomplete. A man becomes complete or a woman becomes complete only on marriage. So that is why they are called better half. But now it is called a bitter half. That is the only difference. Yes. Proceed.
With your permission, I would like to move to the fourth issue.
Right.
Much obliged, Lordship. So the members of the LGBTQIA community to be married as per the rituals of their community, and again it comes under the religious perspective. So as the council has already mentioned, the marriage is just not between only the two individuals. It is about the society. Society is religious and its implications on the society. So marriage is a union between a biological genders of a male and a female. So when referring to the customs and the various religion-based marriage acts, so the center sees that the law can't be changed as it creates some havoc or it damages, as all these personal laws have the delicacies in its own matters. And it also creates imbalances. And once if it has to be altered, there are the chain of laws which has to be altered. So the council is here telling that the not to deny or their violation of rights. Instead, they can be amended or made in a separate set of law, as it is personal law for the LGBTQIA community, where it does not affect the chain of laws. So the parliament has designed and framed the matrimonial laws in the country, so which may be codified or uncodified, but it recognizes only a union between a man and a woman, which is which holds good. So when social values do not permit, then the laws can't be modified. Your Lordship, I would like to quote a few cases here. That is Navteet Singh Johar versus Union of India, as it has only been categorized as a consensual sexual intercourse between the same-sex people as an unnatural offense, which is against the order of the nature. So it is partially struck down this act. And also, the religious perspective, Vaibhav Jain and Parag Mehta, there was a legal fight that was being going on for the same-sex marriage to be recognized as a couple. And the court, as per the Jain ceremony, though it was marriage, here still it did not recognize the marriage. However, they were not allowed to register the marriage. So when the societal norms do not permit, so hence the laws cannot be amended. So the council, with the permission of the Lordship, would like to take the prayer.
Okay.
So I humbly pray before the Honorable Court of Republic of Replimento that to dismiss the petition in first place. And also there are few reasons. So whatever the community should not be included as the term members as per the general interpretations of the Hindu marriage or the special marriage as per the Act. And also guaranteeing of these civil rights which hampers or disturbs the society's peace, as it is a natural and unaccepted practices, and the customs or the traditions form an exhaustive code and hence cannot include the customs of this particular community. The council would pray this honorable court the order or the judgment which in the interest of justice, equity, and good conscience, and for this act of kindness, the respondent would be forever obliged and duty bound.
Okay. See, have you heard about the term common law relation, common law marriage?
Like in the sense in which the couples, they live together for a period of time and hold themselves the friend's perspective or the family.
Live in relationship. Eh?
Live in relationship.
Yes. Yes. Have you heard about it?
I've just heard the name common law.
Maybe. Okay.
That is, even without going through the ceremony of the marriage, they will be still recognized.
Proceed.
Yes.
You have completed?
Yes, I have completed my submission.
Okay. How can we interpret a term which is not defined in an act? Or when we interpret a word like marriage, what should be taken into consideration? Can we rely on foreign interpretations?
Your Lordship, when there is many cases, obviously when there are no laws, so we can definitely look into that international perspective which suits us. So from there, whatever, then as per the constitutional, as the constitution is the supreme. So when this country is facing of society in those things a much frequent way, so obviously we can go and refer.
Okay, good. Completed. You have
Yes, sir.
completed. Okay.
Your Lordship.
Yes.
With Sir's permission, we have 1 minute reserved for rebuttal and Sir rebuttal. If your
Yes.
lordship permits, the petitioners can start their rebuttal followed by Sir rebuttal by the respondents.
Yes.
I call
Yeah,
upon the petitioners for their rebuttal.
Thank you, sir. The respondent state throughout the argument has relied upon the image, the norms, and the societal conventions of the society. According to them, because nobody has until now seen an LGBTQIA plus marriage, it shouldn't happen. But your lordship, the entire contention of the petitioners in this case is that the LGBTQIA plus marriage be held legal. After that only they'll actually get married, which is why nobody has actually seen that marriage till now. Along with that, your lordships, they have also contended that the role of husband and wife is strictly attached to male and female. However, as the petitioners have already contended in their arguments, these roles can be gender fluid, and attaching a label would take away the identity of the LGBTQ gender. Along with that, your lordship, the respondent has also themselves admitted that humanity is everything and everyone are equal, with which the petitioners completely agree, your lordships, as that is the entire contention, that the LGBTQ community be treated on par with the heterosexual community. And lastly, your lordships, the international judgments that the respondent state has relied on, they only have a consideration value, your lordships. They are not binding on this honorable court, and especially when this honorable court has recognized, embraced, and accepted the identity of the LGBTQ community. To now consider these judgments would be taking a step back from the current position, your lordship.
Yes.
With that, the petitioner would like to give my co-counsel the opportunity if she wants to go on.
Okay. Have you heard about the term live-in relationship?
Yes, your lordship.
Where is it?
Your lordship,
Does it find a place in any statute?
no, your lordship, as far as the
Okay.
council is
No, I just want to give, perhaps you may not come across it.
but it has been recognized and accepted through judgments. Live-in relationships are allowed, but they are not equivalent to marriage, your lordship.
Okay. Right. Anything more you want to add?
Your Lordship, the only contention that the petitioners would like to make is that in a time when the Republic of Replimento has moved forward and has recognized the rights of the LGBTQIA plus community, it is imperative to understand that this homophobic attitude towards marriage is going to hinder the rights of the marriage and the right to life of the petitioners in the present case, Your Lordship.
See, your the other council actually submitted that this marriage is a social institution. So the acceptance of the society is necessary in such relationship. Otherwise, the psychological impact that would create, especially on children, the next generation, that will be disastrous. That is what actually the other council wanted to submit. What is your reply to it?
Your Lordship, the contentions made by the respondent with regard to its impact on the mental health of a child will only see the light of day once this court recognizes the marriage between two members of the LGBTQI plus community. Having said that, Your Lordship, it is imperative to understand that as a society, when we move forward, it is imperative to set an example so that we move forward to understand that the society is inclusive of all ideas, all expressions, and all identities, as well as all orientations as held by this honorable court in the past, Your Lordship.
Okay.
Much obliged.
So the next team. Next team want to say anything?
Yes, Your Lordship. So here, we as the council are not denying the violation of their right. So
Yes.
it is just not to alter or amend in the said acts, where it will have an implications on the other acts as well. Instead, give them the rights, but not under this act, is what was our contest. And also with respect to the child is the future for the next generation, as it is a youth oriented country. So when the child's mental balance is affected, or if the child is not living in that kind of a, or in that heterosexual aspect, so obviously how we can bring that child in the future, and we can treat them equally when that child is not matured enough to have both the sexes. So this was the
Okay,
thing what we can do.
And the other counsel in your team, does he want to add anything?
Your Lordship,
Yes.
yeah, just I think my co-counsel has already taken care of the points. But just to add one thing to the petitioner side counsels, that sorry, Your Lordship, recall the point.
Okay.
It's okay. I'm not able to recall the point. Sorry for that.
You have completed. Have you completed?
Yes, Your
Lordship,
Lordship.
with your permission, I would just like to tell them that the petitioner, as you suggested, that I mean, asked a query posing the petitioner, when they themselves, that is the petitioner's family, would they accept them to marry with LGBTQIA community? The petitioner themselves did not have an answer. So how, as a religion perspective, or as societal, or the overall society, when as an individual we do not accept, how can we give as a religion and ask the LGBTQIA community to be included in that religion?
Okay. So you have completed. See, now you can see under this protection of from women from domestic violence act, this term live-in relationship is used. The Supreme Court considered what are its requirements. What are its requirements? The Supreme Court called it is the requirement of a common law marriage. That is AR 2011 Supreme Court 479. That is Velusami's case. Velusami's case. That requirements are necessary. But you see, in another case, that is, I told that there is an absurd example has been given. They have used the term absurd example, the judges. It is in this, what should be the form of a marriage, valid marriage? Can any two persons say that we have decided to have a marriage in a particular form? And that is how our marriage was solemnized. That was the question. The example given is like this. The man and the woman, they were holding their hands. And the man actually, he crowed like a cock, and the woman clucked like a hen. And that is how their marriage was performed. In that case, the Sindh High Court, it was in AR 1938, Sindh 127. AR 1938, Sindh 127. The court held that the form of marriage should be recognized by or known to law. You cannot have your own form. You cannot have your own requirements. So if a statute does not permit it, nothing. Otherwise, the community should have such a form, recognized form. Then it is valid. Otherwise, it is not valid. You cannot have your own form of marriage. You cannot have your own requirements of a valid marriage. See, these two decisions are very interesting. You can go through it. Okay, well done. All of you have performed well. Thank you very much. All the best. Yes.
I request your lordship to, if it is as per your lordship's discretion, whether to give the feedback to participants as of now or after the declaration of results. It is up to your
No,
lordship.
they can give it now, okay, because they may not have any other feeling. after the results are published. Anyway, this is not a much, there is nothing to be bothered.
Then your lordship can kindly give feedback to the team members.
Hmm?
Your lordship can give feedback to the team members right now, and then we will break for
Okay. See, the performance of each and everyone has been very good, especially the language, the way in which the argument was advanced, and how it was coordinated. Everything was very good. But see, some basic principles you did not actually bear in mind. Here, one, forget this is Supreme Court decision. When the Indian Constitution is interpreted, it should be interpreted in the background of the Indian society. We cannot rely on these foreign documents and say that, okay, this is the meaning given to particular term in the society. That is why Indian society, that is why I asked you again and again, what is the nature of a marriage? Marriage, it is a social institution. It's a social institution. If it is a social institution, it means it does not affect not only these two persons, but it affects the entire society. Entire society. So we have to consider whether it affects the society. If it affects the society and the society does not accept it, okay, that is one of the reasons. That is one of the reasons to reject this idea. Another is this: when you argue the case, there should not be any contradiction. There should not be any contradiction. Okay, forget it. The next one is this: when you do not get an answer, when a particular term is not defined in a statute, you can gather its meaning from the other provisions. From the other provisions. So if you go to this Hindu Marriage Act and the Special Marriage Act, it is clear that these two persons means there should be of opposite sexes. There cannot be of a homogeneous success. Same sex, it is not allowed. We can easily understand it. Suppose we cannot gather it from there also, or the statute does not provide it. What is it then? Then whether there is any law governing this particular community, if that also is not there, suppose there is no custom or there is no recognized form, then what is the next one? The next test is whether it is fair and good, that we say equity. Whether it is fair to allow it or not. If it is fair to allow it, okay. Even if there is no statute, you can do it, the court will declare it. There are some instances where the court has done it. So that is how we interpret it. When we interpret a statute, we have to bear in mind that the law gives only the statute gives only the law. But we don't have courts of law. We have courts of law and justice. So if there is no justice or the justice is not found in the law, where will we get this justice? How can we call a court a court of law and justice? See, if the statute gives only the law, the justice element should be given by the court. How? By interpretation. That is the importance of the significance of this interpretation. By interpretation, these courts give this element of justice to this law, statutory law. That is how we interpret these things. Whether statute is there, whether it gives only law, and what is justice, whether justice is seen, reflected in this law. If it is not there, then interpretation. That is how we have to do it. In this case, we see that there's a Special Marriage Act and this Hindu Marriage Act. There is no definition. Then you can gather this information, gather the meaning of this term marriage from the other provisions, plus how the society thinks, whether the Indian culture, the society, the culture of the society, the contemporary society accepts or not. Since it is a social institution, acceptance by the society may be necessary. Okay, you have done your part well, very good. And I congratulate each one of you. The other things I want to tell you, I will tell you in my speech later.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. We'll just request all the audience and participants to leave this room so that Honorable Justice can mark the teams. I request all the participants, all the co-hosts, please remove the participants and audience from the call. All the co-hosts kindly remove all the participants and audience, please. The only people remaining can be the volunteers and members of the firm. Yes, sir. Now all the participants have left the room, sir. So you want us to help us to mark in a Google Doc?
Yes. Because,
Yes, sir.
yes.
We'll do that, sir. 1 minute. Anjali, please share your screen.
Yes, sir. Sir, can you see my screen?
Yes.